7 signs you're more depressed than you realize. Most people think depression is obvious. They picture someone crying constantly, staying in bed all day, or feeling sad every waking moment. But that image is only a small part of the story. Depression often hides behind routines, responsibilities, and even smiles. Someone can go to work every day, laugh with friends, answer every message on time, and still be fighting a battle that nobody else can see. That is what makes it so difficult to recognize, especially when it happens slowly. Instead of arriving all at once, it quietly changes the way you think, feel, and experience everyday life, until your new normal no longer feels unusual. You simply assume you are tired, stressed, or going through a rough patch. But what if the signs have been there much longer than you realized? What if the problem is not that you have failed to notice depression, but that depression has become so familiar it feels like part of who you are? In this video, we are looking at some of the most overlooked signs that people often dismiss, even though they can reveal something much deeper happening beneath the surface. Nothing feels exciting anymore. There is a difference between losing interest in one hobby and losing interest in almost everything. Maybe there was a time when you looked forward to watching your favorite show, meeting up with friends, playing games, working out, or simply enjoying a quiet weekend. Now those same activities feel strangely empty. You still go through the motions, because that is what you have always done, but the excitement is gone. It is not that you suddenly dislike everything. It is that nothing seems capable of making you feel genuinely engaged anymore. Many people mistake this for laziness or burnout, but depression often steals enjoyment before it steals motivation. You stop chasing experiences because your brain quietly stops expecting them to feel rewarding. Over time, life becomes less about living and more about simply getting through the day, and that shift can happen so gradually that you barely notice it until you cannot remember the last time you truly looked forward to something. You feel constantly exhausted even after rest. Everyone feels tired now and then, but depression creates a different kind of exhaustion. It is the type of fatigue that sleep cannot seem to fix. You wake up feeling as though you never really rested. Simple tasks suddenly require enormous effort, and even making small decisions can feel mentally draining. It is frustrating because from the outside, nothing appears wrong. You may have slept enough hours, eaten normally, and done very little physically, yet your body feels heavy from the moment the day begins. That happens because depression affects far more than emotions. It influences concentration, motivation, energy levels, and even the way the brain processes everyday tasks. Eventually, people stop asking why they are so tired and simply accept exhaustion as part of their identity, without realizing it could be a sign that something much deeper is happening beneath the surface. You pull away without realizing it. Depression does not always make people dislike others. Sometimes it simply convinces them that being alone is easier. You cancel plans more often, stop replying to messages as quickly, or tell yourself you will reach out later but never do. At first, it feels temporary, just a need for some space. Then weeks or even months pass, and the distance quietly becomes your normal. Friends may assume you are busy, while you begin believing nobody would really notice if you disappeared for a while. The painful part is that isolation often makes depression even stronger. The less connected you feel, the harder it becomes to reconnect, creating a cycle that feeds itself. Many people only recognize this pattern after looking back and realizing how much of their world gradually became smaller, without them ever making a conscious decision to withdraw. You are harder on yourself than anyone else. Think about the way you speak to yourself after making a mistake. Would you use those same words with someone you care about? For many people struggling with depression, the answer is no. Small failures feel enormous, achievements never seem good enough, and every flaw becomes evidence that they are somehow falling behind everyone else. Even compliments can feel uncomfortable because they clash with the harsh image they have built of themselves. Over time, that inner voice becomes so familiar that it no longer sounds cruel. It simply sounds true. The problem is that depression often distorts the way you see yourself, convincing you that your worth depends entirely on what you accomplish, while ignoring everything that makes you human. When your own mind becomes your toughest critic, it becomes incredibly difficult to recognize your strengths, no matter how obvious they may seem to everyone around you. You keep yourself busy to avoid your thoughts. Most people assume depression looks like doing nothing, but for some, it looks like never stopping. You fill every free moment with work, scrolling, television, errands, or endless distractions, because silence feels uncomfortable. The moment life slows down, thoughts you have been avoiding begin demanding attention. Instead of facing them, you stay busy enough to keep them in the background. From the outside, this can look like productivity, but internally, it often feels like running without knowing where you are trying to go. The mind becomes so focused on escaping uncomfortable emotions that it forgets how to simply exist without constant stimulation. Over time, being busy stops feeling like a choice and starts feeling like the only way to avoid what has been quietly building beneath the surface. You feel emotionally numb more than sad. One of the biggest misconceptions about depression is that it always feels like overwhelming sadness. In reality, many people describe something completely different. They feel almost nothing at all. Happiness feels distant, excitement fades quickly, and even moments that should feel meaningful seem strangely flat. It is as though someone turned the volume down on every emotion, both good and bad. That numbness can be confusing because you may not feel miserable enough to believe anything is wrong, yet you also cannot remember the last time you felt genuinely alive. Instead of emotional highs and lows, every day blends into the next, with very little difference between them. It is this quiet absence of feeling that often goes unnoticed the longest, even though it can be one of the clearest signs that your mind has been carrying more than it can comfortably handle. You keep thinking things will get better later. Hope is important, but depression often disguises itself as postponement. You tell yourself you will be happier after this stressful week, after the next vacation, after getting a better job, or after life finally settles down. Months pass, then years, and the finish line keeps moving. The difficult part is that this mindset can prevent people from noticing what they are experiencing right now, because they are always waiting for some future version of life to fix the way they feel. While circumstances certainly matter, depression does not always disappear when life improves. Sometimes the biggest step forward is recognizing that you deserve support now, rather than waiting until things become unbearable. The sooner you acknowledge what has been happening beneath the surface, the sooner you can begin moving toward feeling like yourself again. Depression is not always loud, obvious, or easy to recognize. Sometimes it quietly changes the way you experience everyday life until feeling disconnected, exhausted, or emotionally numb starts to seem normal. That is why so many people live with it for months, or even years, before realizing something deeper has been happening all along. Recognizing these signs is not about putting a label on yourself. It is about understanding your experiences with honesty, instead of dismissing them as personal failures or temporary weaknesses. The way you feel today does not have to define the way you feel forever, and noticing the patterns is often the first step toward meaningful change. If this video helped you see depression from a different perspective, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments which sign stood out to you the most. Your story could help someone else realize they are not as alone as they think.